So just before we start this podcast, I'd like to say a huge thanks again to Mark Pitcher at smashthebox.me. Mark has been a long-time friend and also been on the podcast to tell his story about leaving corporate life and following his dream and his purpose, which has been Smash the Box. Smash the Box is a new way for you to train, motivate and inspire your staff. So by hiring Mark, you'll be improving your culture and really giving back something to your teams that will help them in their daily roles and their daily life. Mark has a really refreshing approach in terms of how people can actually find their purpose, their personal purpose and their business purpose. And it will make your culture a much stronger and much more aerodynamic organisation. You can experience Smash the Box in 3 ways. You can have a workshop with Mark who can train your GMs and your AGMs, etc., all the way through to your rising stars and teach them things like how to become an amazing leader, how to find purpose and fulfillment in the work, and also the power of positivity, all about that positive mental attitude. You can also get one-to-one coaching with Mark, whether you're an executive or for your teams, and again, really helping light that inner spark that's in all of us. Also, Mark is an amazing keynote speaker, whether you'd like to get him for your event. He's also an amazing warm-up act for any cold rooms that's maybe about to get serious, but also a great keynote speaker in his own right for you to hire him to come in and inspire all of your teams and colleagues. You can get a taster of Mark every single morning on Smash the Box Facebook Live. That's 7:45 every single morning on Facebook. Mark has a daily morning dose of inspiration for everyone, and he's building quite a sizable positive community on there. Definitely try and check that out. Also, please do get in touch with Mark at smashthebox.me or follow Mark Pitcher and Smash the Box on LinkedIn. From We Are Spectacular, this is a Spectacular Marketing Podcast, a podcast about everything brand, marketing, digital and social for the food, drink and hospitality industry and beyond. So it's the morning after the UK hospitality Christmas lunch, and I thought a good intro would be if I was slightly hungover, as today's podcast is a drunk cast. So the other week I got together with Mark Stretton from Fleet Street Communications and also Mark Wingett, who's the outgoing editor-at-large at the M&C Report, MCA. And it was a really good opportunity to look back on the year and have a think about all the things that went right for the industry, some of the things that went wrong, and also, hopefully at times a humorous look back on all the things that happened to us this year, probably one of the most challenging years in the hospitality industry that most people will remember. So I'm out and about in Aldwych. I've just got my final meeting for the year and I'm about to switch off for Christmas. Hopefully you're listening to this on Christmas Day or on your Christmas break and you've had a really nice time to sit and reflect, be with the family and really enjoy just switching off for a few hours with those that really matter to you. So Merry Christmas from the Spectacular Marketing Podcast. I hope you enjoy this podcast. It's part 1 of a 2-part drunk cast series. We recorded around 3 hours and we've got 2 hopefully nicely edited 1-hour packages for you. So unwrap them, sit back with some mulled wine and have a listen. It gives me the most amount of intoxicated pleasure to welcome the 3 Marks.
The 3 Marks?
Yeah. The 3 Marks, Mark Wingett.
Evening.
So you've got the countrified accent.
Slightly West Country twang.
So you sound like that.
Think Insters.
Would you like me to say pasty a lot?
Yeah, it's not quite murder, is it?
No, because that's Scottish.
Yeah. I don't think you sound that West Country.
Proper job.
Okay, better. And the other Mark.
Evening.
Mark Stretton.
Hello.
Who sounds posher.
Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it?
So, just to set the scene, we are in the loft space. I think it was a long trip.
It's quite romantic, actually.
Getting
isn't
up.
It is.
in one of Fuller's beautiful bedrooms, as they are known. And so thanks to Nick Corden and everyone at Fuller's for sorting this out. We tried to get a private pub space in probably the busiest night out in the year.
I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, officially.
Christmas Party Central.
Is it tomorrow morning that is bacon sandwich extravaganza of the year?
I think
Isn't it Pret's busiest day tomorrow?
Or Greg's.
Is it Greg's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the two.
Everyone's going to be on the bacon sandwiches tomorrow.
It could be.
Yeah.
So I think this was your idea a bit, where we went to the cricket, which I don't understand, and we got reasonably drunk, and then you sort of came up with this. Let's
Well,
have a
I
drunk
admired
casting.
your work on your podcasting, your
kind.
nascent work on podcasting, and I thought, you know what we need to do? We need to get like-minded people
Mhm.
around the table and
Yeah.
look back on what has been quite a transformational year for the industry. Not just through problems it's had and issues, but there's been marketing transformations about campaigns. Obviously, people leaving the industry, people joining. I just thought it'd be a good idea at the end of the year to, bit of humour.
Yeah. It was really how can we crowbar ourselves into Mark's fantastic podcast.
And that, yeah.
But I think also, like, I was thinking about Charlie Brooker's Newswipe, and how he does these amazing things. But when you look back on the year, I mean, both of you sent this amazing list through saying, here's all the things that happened. And, I couldn't remember if it was this year or last year, or it was all kind of merging into one. So I think it was...
It's been a bit of a blur, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I think also it's been a tough year for everyone, most people. And actually, it's quite nice to go through and celebrate a lot of the good stuff that's happening, the action.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to think this year would be people battening down the hatches.
Yeah.
And in some respects, some people have and just kept busy and focused on their own business, but there's been a lot of M&A activity, which I don't think people thought there would be, especially on the pub side, which keeps being resilient compared to the casual dining market. And unfortunately, there has been some casualties along the way. Some big casualties and a lot of closures. But, it's the old saying, isn't it? One person's problems and challenges, and another person's opportunities.
Is that an old saying?
It is now.
I feel like you've made that up. But so, I mean, let's get into it then. So, when we were doing our lists and beard scratching a bit, because we've all kind of got stubble, and sitting thinking about it all, you really sort of, laid out month by month, just all these things. And as I say, huge things that happened, I just couldn't remember they'd happened. But is there a kind of summary of the year before we get into it? I mean, how do you both feel it's been? Because you're in slightly different camps now, one being PR agency and one being editorial.
I think I summed it up to you earlier, and you can take it down to I always do this: is it a pub's year or is it a restaurant's year? And you look at something like I think you used Brewdog as an example. What's Brewdog done this year, apart from the marketing, which is obviously renowned for? You look at what they've bought this year, and two of the biggest things they've bought in London, and not aside from Draft House, the sort of group deal, was buying Ape and Bird from Polpo, who's seen as the Soho darling, darling of the restaurant scene. They bought Ape and Bird in Cambridge Circus, and they also bought Jamie's Italian site in Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
And
then Draft House.
Yeah, and Draft House, and it's very much so. That's the move that's been wet led, Renaissance and pubs, craft beer. Yeah. It's all come to a head at the start of the year, and in that first quarter, I think when we looked through it, the first quarter gave a kind of indication. We sort of saw at the end of last year with some CVAs being mentioned, but Jamie's Italian CVA was went through. I think Prezzo, the first quarter of this year, started the problems there, and the CVA kicked off of that. And Byron, so, three big CVAs started, and I think by the end of the first quarter, you had College, who was being mentioned as well as restructuring. So that kind of gave an indication of the theme for the casual dining market, for that mid-market. But also, again, for me, for that Brewdog buying Ape and Bird, it was kind of like showing there's opportunities there for the pub guys to now have a bit of their moment, or the wet-led guys to have a bit of moment in the sun.
Didn't necessarily see that coming though, did you? In hindsight, it's definitely been pubs and bars years, but and the two markets, if you're going to split them into sort of casual dining and pubs and bars, they're at different stages, different parts of the cycle. And if you think about where pubs and bars were probably 15 years ago in terms of that land grab and that rapid rollout, and then suddenly there was just arguably a bit of a capacity issue. Sort of we've come full circle to that's where it feels some parts of the eating out market are.
I completely agree. I would say I remember talking to Christie & Co when I used to work there, and they came out with the stat there was 10,000 too many pubs in 2005, 2006. Yeah. They said over the next decade that would wash out.
And then 20,000 closed.
Yeah.
Not net, but you know.
Yeah. And you can conceivably say we've got too many restaurants. And actually, you know, people talk about the race, and we've mentioned the race of the pub sector and that sector. It's you've got to take it in comparison to the problems faced by the restaurant sector and the casual dining sector. But also,
sorry, Mark, I was just going to say it's sort of a fascinating time, isn't it? Because it feels like there's opportunity and threat in kind of equal measure, especially for the casual dining guys who have been on this. There's been this massive land grab where they've just been so focused on rolling out, probably from about 2010.
Yeah,
and probably I think many would admit at the expense of their core business, at the expense of reinvesting in their sites, in their products, and keeping what they're doing up with the consumer, and suddenly the wheels have sort of stopped, haven't they?
I would say they also became very complacent and arguably quite arrogant that they think this would work year on.
It's almost like the credit crunch, in that way that people just were spending out with their means, and it was on the never and all the rest of it, and there was this magic sort of formula which was, right, let's build up the group, and then it's on a 5-year cycle, and someone will buy us, and we'll all be really, you know, and they were more focused on that than they were about the customers and the brand and the important things, and you know, and it was shrinking businesses to greatness. And when you're opening at that rate, because I remember, I don't know if I said this before in the podcast, but I remember there was a guy from Apple on a panel, and you think about how much people are trying to fill their teams, you know, and then people are leaving and they don't work out. And if you're opening, you know, 3 restaurants in, name your short amount of time, how could you truly, and guess what, you're going to have one person that's looking after the hiring, you're going to have one openings manager, and you're going to have one HR person that's global who's doing it. You know, so from that perspective, you're sitting going, well, how could you have the care and the attention? So the guy from Apple said, I'd rather have a hole in my business than an asshole. Yeah. And I think it's hard though, because you're having to fill those teams, but they're filling them with just anybody.
But the bit you're putting an inordinate amount of stress on the business, aren't you? Because how can you get every property right? How can you get the financial deal on that property right? And how can you build the team and make sure they're trained so that you hit the ground running? We know how competitive and unforgiving the market is. So if you're open and it's just not right, people don't give you a second chance, do they?
But I just heard it again and again, which was, we need to be in Bath. We've got to be in Bath. You know, here's our opening plan. We've got to, and the pressure's coming down. So then from the investors, the CEOs then like, shit, we've got to get into Bath. So then they pick something in Bath, and then they know it's not right in their heart of hearts, but then they go, oh, it's off pitch, but then the rent was cheaper, so therefore this, and it never adds up.
Yeah.
It never adds up.
I mean, I live near Richmond, in London, as in London, Richmond.
Humble brag.
Yeah, not in Richmond. About a 15-minute walk, but and you just see it there. You just see people. You know, we've got to be in Richmond. Some people have taken fantastic sites, but there's a few really odd decisions. And I think it's the same way you are, isn't it, Mark? You know?
I think I completely agree. I mean, we've got a Strada on the high street that's been closed for a year now, and no one's taken it. But it's also, I think, in 2010 or going back over the years, you could get away with marginal sites because there wasn't that churn of competition. There was that pent-up demand. Now there is that constant, and it's, you know, the society we live in, consumers, how they react. It's so much quicker. I mean, you see, we mentioned the new Thai restaurant in Covent Garden. It's called, my name. It's just 5-hour queue. It's just opened.
Yeah.
And
stunning. You
think, how long will that last? Because that's, you know, does anybody talk about Chiltern Firehouse anymore? But for about 2 or 3 weeks, 2 months, that was the only thing that was in the Evening Standard.
Din Tai Fung.
Din Tai Fung, thank you. The noise of the new, as I call it, has got increasingly louder and louder, and you can't stand out anymore. You stand out for a briefer time than you used to.
But that is an absolutely world class. My colleague Holly's been, and she says it's the best dumpling she's ever had.
Has she been to Dinerama though? Because Yumplings there are
that's very
something
good
to behold.
Really?
Truly.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. So if we go back then Jan, the big stories that stuck out in your minds?
So I suppose there's Byron.
What about Byron?
Oh, there's a lot going on there, isn't there?
I think we'll be talking about Byron next January as well, unfortunately.
My thing is this is a couple of years ago, Byron was the best thing ever. I loved it. I thought
Why?
it was a fantastic product. I just felt they'd hit a spot in the market where it just really worked.
Yeah.
And I think I was a bit biased because I had, a site near my work, which was great on the cut near Waterloo.
Mm-hmm.
Had a site at the aforementioned Richmond, which was great. And
You got shares in it?
in Richmond. I wish I did.
Tourist board for Richmond, yeah.
And those two sites were really good. Now, I don't know anything about the property deal and whether they worked financially for the company. In hindsight, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But just the experience that I had at those two sites, either with colleagues or with family, was always really good. But I think it's just it's about what we were talking about earlier, about this massive land grab that went on.
Yeah.
And clearly made some mistakes. Clearly something happened between Tom, the founder, and his investors. And
Is Tom gone completely?
Yeah, he left over a year ago now. And I think, like to pick up Mark's point, it's kind of
Which Mark?
Mark opposite me, who was talking, the posh one from Portsmouth. To pick up his point about the it's kind of like private equity 101, as in you back an entrepreneur and then you stifle him by putting him in a room every Monday and making him look at spreadsheets. Dance. And I think a classic thing was for Byron was the culture as well. It was a fantastic culture they had there, and private equity. We shouldn't tarnish private equity with the same brush, because some of them are great, some of them work brilliantly with teams, but sometimes they come in and they take the person who's made that business and take him away from what made that business good to make him do something else. Now, obviously, there was the whole thing around the immigration sting that I
felt very sorry for them over that.
Yeah, they were just
very slow to
going along what they wanted to do. I think there was an internal thing there where the entrepreneur wanted to come out immediately, rectify the problem, or at least face up to it,
as they should have done,
as he wanted to do, I believe. But he was maybe held back by the investors who were worried about how it would play out. And also, I think it's interesting how that played out. Where I've talked to a lot of people say, "Oh, that was just a London issue; it would never affect them out in the regions." But we know, Mark, you will know more better than us, and what you will do in terms of the PR. Now, something that happens in London, you can Google it, you can see it on social media, and it will permeate. If you're now looking at Google, I want to go to a burger place in Manchester where they had 3 sites, what comes up on Google News or Google when you search will be Byron in staff issues, not treating that, however it was played out. And you'll go somewhere else. And you can't have that. You can't have that negative momentum build, which Byron did. And it really, the speed that the momentum went from that business is quite scary.
That issue was... There were a lot of operators, I think, that was thinking there, but for the grace of God, there were letters going out from the Home Office to every single casual dining group saying, you need to make sure everyone is eligible as they should be. But I think Byron became a bit of a poster child for that whole issue, and it was a bit sad to see, really.
So, what has happened in Jan then? So it was then a good hard look at the estate and the portfolio of everything, and then looking at the CVA side of things. Yeah,
so I think January, which went into February, which went into March, was you had the Byron CVA, which again, and you had the Jamie's one, which had been mentioned the year before. Which
why is CVA a good thing? Why did everyone go for this?
I think it's almost like they don't want the word administration anywhere near their business.
Is it the equivalent of bankruptcy, or what's in it from this?
Some would argue it's a get out of jail card, because some would argue it's a bit of a immoral way of getting rid of your bad sites in one foul swoop and being able to go again. Some would argue, and I know there's a lot of operators who don't go for a CVA will go, well, the guy next to me now has got a better rent deal because he's done this, and I'm still on the rent deal that I was on previously and still battling that.
I mean, the CVA is basically a recovery vehicle, a recovery tool, and it's sort of saying, okay, well, there's a core business here which is fighting to get out of the whole group, and this group, if you've got 50 sites, there may be 5 or 10 sites that are weighing everything down, are loss making, and are basically sort of eating up the cash or the oxygen of the whole business. And actually, if we can lose the bottom 10 or 20% of the sites, we have a very core successful business which can go on being successful, which can go on.
Do you think it's just delaying the inevitable?
I don't know where there was a stat I heard that is it a fifth, like 1 out of 5 companies that have been through a CVA recover to what they were, and the other 4 don't.
Well, I think
it's a lazy option to my mind, in a way, and slightly an unfair option as well for other people that don't get it. So I think, if you fundamentally, is your problem that long tail, or is your problem you've got a broken brand?
Well, I mean, the fact is, I think with a CVA...
Longer term?
Well, I think it gets you to the start line. So what a CVA does is it gives you the opportunity to put everything right, but it does just get you to the start line. Ultimately, creditors have to support it. It's a company voluntary arrangement, and the creditors have to vote it through, and so that tells you everything. If the creditors who you owe what you owe to are supporting it, then that normally suggests, it's broad brush, huge generalisation, but it normally suggests that actually this is a sensible plan, it's a sensible way forward. And if you look at all those companies that have been through a CVA this year, they now have to go and reinvigorate their whole business, through people, product, property. It should give you the opportunity to do it.
But being human, I think, is probably quite a downer for everyone as well.
Customers, also the interesting is customers hate it. So CVA creates a bit of a stigma, and you see it overnight. As soon as someone does a CVA, you see it in the sales numbers, and unfortunately the headlines sort of dominate. And even though 80 or 90% of your business might be going forward and part of the kind of keep go or the surviving business, sales at those restaurants or bars will drop, and you have to fight to get that, to win back the customer.
Well, also, Mark, I think actually some people, you think haven't cut deep enough.
Yeah.
So I'll use Prezzo. 300 sites, CVA closed around about 100. I would argue it's not just their problem, but I think the restaurant market's moved on where I don't think you can have these estates that are that big anymore. So, if you've got 30 sites then right, you probably grow up to 50, 60, fine. If you've got over, if you're Pizza Express, Nando's, you're already there, you're already at that size. Yeah. Anywhere in between, I find it hard to see how you can be nimble enough to reinvigorate, evolve your brand.
Well, just on that point, I mean, obviously they brought in Karen to try and help it. I know we're skipping about slightly, and then John left and he went to Butlins. John Hendry Pickup.
Yeah.
So great guy. Really, worked with him a couple of times. Really enjoy him. But I think it was a tough one. Going into there to trying to be able to fix it. But I think with the new stuff from I never know how to say it. Is it Prezzo or Prezzo?
I think it is Prezzo, isn't it? I always say Prezzo.
I think it was in the press recently, actually. How do you pronounce it?
In the press or the press? Yeah. So basically, that's the jet lag kicking in. So yeah, I mean, they've got this kind of new look, I suppose, where they've got this pasta, pizza, vino kind of neon sign, sort of targeting millennial thing. But my biggest question on the whole thing was they've went through a rebrand in terms of the brand identity. So they did a really nice launch and they've looked at the logo and all that. But I'm thinking, to what end? Because you're not going to refit the estate.
Well,
they're saying at the front door.
They need to.
But that's going to be a lot.
I think for me, if you do a CVA with a view to recovering and restoring the magic of that business, there has to be some magic there, or there has to have been some magic there at some point. And I look at Byron and Carluccio's and Jamie's, and I think, they have a chance. With Prezzo, I probably don't know enough about that business, but I think, they probably, is it kind of magical enough? Is there enough to it which is going to make it really differentiated and really, you have to be known for something, don't you?
Exactly. So I think the problem with a lot of the ones that are going through the CVA process is they weren't aware quick enough, or they weren't fleet of foot quick enough before having to get to that stage. And actually, it's usually a brand DNA issue. So when you go through that, what do you stand for? Because people, we talk about this every day at work, and it's like people like to pigeonhole you. Yeah. To go, that place that does the great, and also what's your craveable dish? What is the thing that I would drop everything for to go and visit you?
What's your USP? And Mark's right, you look at something like prezzo, whatever. You look at something like that and you actually have to ask yourself, and I think Karen has actually said that on a couple of conferences I've seen her talk, where, you know, you've got to be able to say to someone what your brand stands for right away. And, you know, I look at some of the brands out there, whether it's Prezzo or someone else, and you say to, do we need it? Does the consumer need that brand in their lives? And there's too many, sadly, I think there's too many brands at the moment where you could probably go, no.
It's just me too.
Are you going to walk past all the rest to get to that one?
I hope people are appreciating this cheery podcast.
Yeah,
I know.
No, but
we need to drink up.
I think it's just a message to people. You know, when we talk about, is your food good enough to tweet? You know, so Insta and whatever. You know, but does it look good enough? But also, it's just, and you look at all the. So you name the successful brands, I think, right? So Nando's, right? You know exactly what's going on there. Peri chicken. Yeah. Pita breads, all that, the sausage, you know, it's just like, it's almost too many USP. And then you've got Wagamama, category of one, you know, where it's like, right, chicken chili ramen or and also the katsu. But then, in Bleecker Burger, for example, you know, it's the best burgers around for me by a mile.
Agree.
So I think it's just going through the brands, and if you then start to look at, and it's no disrespect at all because, you know, I use them a lot, but someone like Carluccio's,
I mean,
what's the thing that you would drive miles for?
But we actually worked on that CVA from a comms perspective with them, and Mark Jones is very candid, and he can be because he came in to kind of sort everything out. But yeah, he says that on a site issue, which isn't really your question, but on a site issue, you know, we've got sites doing $8,000 a day, and we've also got sites doing $8,000 a week. And you know, and he feels like, you know, they had 100 restaurants. I think they've got about 70 something now. Just push the brand a bit too far, and you know, we've got really good business here. But to your point, they need to sort of restore it. You know, one of their sort of sayings, which came from Antonio, was minimum of fuss, maximum of flavour. So it has to be about the food. It has to be about really delicious, tasty Italian fare, done well, unpretentious. I think one of the things that Mark's recognised is they used to go through all the day parts, and for some reason that dinner business isn't quite there now.
Well, they did so well at that, right? Because so actually it was, they stormed it for breakfast. I mean, that's kind of where you used to go. But I mean, I think I remember getting an interview for MTV marketing, my head of marketing or something, which was just brilliant for me, but didn't get it. But the guy took me there, you know, and I'm here, and so in a lovely dark room, supping some wine.
Thank goodness you didn't get it.
Thank goodness I didn't dodge that and marry Cat Daly. That would have been terrible. But I think so. Basically, when you used to go out and do breakfast, I thought were to die for at the time. It was like something. But lunch, I'll come on to in a sec. But dinner, what was so good was they were one of the first people I'd ever seen.
Do it.
Lights went down. Yeah. Candlesticks went on there, and you thought, yes, come on. Glass of wine, and they were. You had to take the bottles of wine away, so they put 2 bottles on the table, and you had to ask them to take. You weren't going to ask them to take them away. You were like, that, right? Crack on you go. It was brilliant. But then the lunchtime thing, they were so clever. So our office used to be in Marketplace, which was the first one, right? Is that right?
It was one of the first ones. I think the first one was down on Neil Street in Covent Garden.
Ah, okay, right, the corner site.
It was a real store and restaurant hybrid.
So the Marketplace one of the originals anyway, and it was £4 or £5, and you got they called it like Al Forno or whatever, and they just laid out all these big sort of tray bakes of like lasagna and this and that, and you got a can of San Pellegrino and something else, I think, and then that was, you were away, but it was loaded up of just
happy to do it, happy to pay it.
And also, do you subscribe to Daily Mash?
Yes.
On Facebook, you like that? Yeah. So I saw one of their things just as an aside, and it said, all other cans think San Pellegrino's a prick. It's fancy foil lid. Anyway, that's an aside.
It's interesting. Interesting with college shows, which goes into another theme of the year. For me, on the restaurant side, is diversification and future-proofing your business and being able to recalibrate. So Coluccio's tried Via. So tried to do more of a grab and go thing before they obviously went into it,
right.
which closed quite quickly. But you now look at, so going on to it, talking about size, and I interviewed Yo Sushi's chief executive earlier this year, Richard Hodgson, and he's very clear that they'll probably only open one restaurant this year because they obviously bought Bento in America. They've got Tyco Foods. They're doing Yo to Go counters now with Tesco. And it's very much like he wants to dial down and dial up on what he likes to have, the heritage and the brand of Yo in restaurants, but he knows that is not an area of the company that's growing at the moment. Yeah. Well, the industry. So you're seeing these, and I think that's where I think if we look at Carluccio's, Jamie's, Prezzo, it's hard to diversify an Italian brand. The one who's done it well is Azori, and they bought in that with Coca de Mama.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Pizza Express will look at that next year. They'll look at trying doing a smaller format to do their Italian heritage. But I think that's what we'll see coming in. The bigger guys trying to do smaller things. We know Wagamama are working on a grab and go thing, which is obviously hopefully TRG will bring into their concession business. I've mentioned Pizza Express. Yo are looking to do the same. So it's knowing that our estate can't get any bigger. I would argue Carluccio's probably need to keep it at that size for a couple of years and really grab that estate by the neck and get it right. Whether they get the opportunity, their owners give that opportunity, and we all know that is the $1 million question from private equity and ownership. That's why Nando's do so well, because it's not a traditional private equity play. They get given the time to get things right behind the scenes, whether it's tech, whether it's delivery, what. But I think it's that we've seen this year already start of people, and even something like we talk about Byron. If I'm Honest Burgers, who I think are great, they do a really good job. They're now at 30 sites. They must have looked at Byron and GVK and gone, is there room for us to get 70 sites in the UK? We now have to look at how we make, and they've got a great name, how we now expand that. Do we do Honest in pubs? Do we do Honest coffee? Do we go into Europe?
Rosemary chips.
Yeah, we need to look at how we use that to diversify to make this concept future. And I think that's what more brands need to do from a very early start. They didn't have to do before.
But they stand for something, right? So again, if you look at
know what that is.
Byron or this or that, well, you're going, well, what do you stand for, right? And they stand for,
never lose that.
And you've got that honest thing in your head where it's, you've got grass-fed in your mind and all these things, and whether it is or it isn't, it's just in your mind that it's.
But Mark,
that,
the great thing they do at Honest is the founders are still put front and center. And even Bill's now, they ramp up Bill Collinson, they bring him out, and Tom and Phil
they're all over
are still there. Going back to Brighton, opening in Brighton, where they started.
That have a backlash already, though.
Yeah, but where they started, going to Lewis Fireworks display and spending all their money on the last chance.
Yeah.
It's great with the fans going, and you see all the press. Tom and Phil are pushed out there, and Gary's there from Goucher. You got Harold, who used to be at Coke, and they're clever enough to brought on these guys going, look, we know how to do a burger, we know how to do our chips, we don't know how to grow a business, and there's that lovely balance
that
there,
awareness, isn't there?
To pull back, to go forward, to pull back, to do this, do that. And I think that's, if you can get that expertise at that level, you've got more of a chance to do something.
Well, there's a couple of food bloggers, we're just a bit like, does Brighton really need another? So I was kind of on the front foot with them, going, but it kind of started here, and it is different. Like honestly, but you'll like it, and you'll enjoy it.
For everyone that opens one close, no one's going to reinvent the burger. They're going to do it. They're going to do it a better burger. There's always going to be room for winners.
Yeah.
Look at Five Guys. Look at Five Guys' price point compared to everyone else, and yet it is pounding it.
I've still got mates in Scotland moaning about the price of Five Guys.
It's pounding it.
Because when you add,
it adds up, doesn't it? Yeah.
But it's
Fantastic
still phenomenal.
Product.
It's probably a close. Well, it's my cheaper, more available version of Bleecker.
Yeah,
just the American cheese. I'm just a sucker for the American cheese. It's very good.
But I think that's one of my. The come out of the CVA thing has been people looking at like you say, looking at their estates, drilling down, looking at what size they need to be, what else they can do with their brand.
But it's this, that diversity thing is really interesting as well, and it's where can we take the brand, and also I think drive-through, yeah.
Well, and then you go on to delivery.
Supermarkets, that's not right for everyone. But
supermarket delivery,
delivery,
virtual brands. You look at
partnerships. Is your website optimized? I think there's a few too many brands out there that are just sort of, we've got really good food, and we'll open the doors. And people will
do
come.
that.
Yeah, cross fingers.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah.
Well, just jetted in from Miami this afternoon, and I went to Hooters.
I saw that. I saw the Facebook.
It was research.
Wingett.
they've just got it down in terms of you can buy everything that's in there. You know, they've got the little shop in the corner in the Hard Rock sort of style. They've also got the Hooters hot wing sauce, which everyone goes crazy for. So I think there's diversification in so many ways, and it drives me insane the fact that people think now that you can open a restaurant and operate within 4 walls and that's it. And it's almost like being in a band now. You know, if you're in a band, you've got to have a marketing degree and being great at social media and be able to video and edit and you know, these things. You can't just be good at guitar. That's not the way it works anymore. Good songs ain't going to make it.
I think there's always outliers. I think there's like, you know, it's almost like, you know,
they are the outliers though, aren't they?
But you have that argument and you have to do delivery. Someone like Loungers, 6% like-for-like growth in the year, don't discount, don't do delivery. Just very good hospitality.
That's an amazing business, isn't it?
Yeah. Good culture, good offer, does simple things very, very well.
Yeah, weird sites, finds great sites, off-pitch.
And do you know, as well with Loungers, which I think they've just taken the time to get the staff right. Pretty much every Loungers I've been into, and the Hove one at the moment is like me and Palma's, my wife's go-to place, and because it's just easy. You go in and it's just frictionless. The staff are amazing. You know what you're going to get. The value
it's
for
really
money,
easy, isn't it?
It's just simple. And the wonderful thing is you've got so many different types of people in there. You've got a couple of wee old grannies having a cup of tea and a chat. You've got lots of mums in there,
something to eat,
all that,
having a drink.
But it was great. We were at another brand across the road in Hove, and it looks amazing, the site, but when you go in and you kind of knock the tables, it all feels a bit. And you know, it took us 15 minutes to get served at this other brand. And we were just like, and then we looked at the lunch menu and it was 15, 16, 20 quid for lunch stuff. And you're like, come on. Went across to Loungers and honestly, the door was like millimetres open. This guy just going, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Come on in. And you just thought, oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just thought, I'm yours for life.
Yeah.
Even if they did 20 bad visits after that, I would still remember that first visit.
So that's like my outlier in terms of not doing delivery, but also in terms of size. 137, 140 sites, but they still, because you, like you say, they've got that local community feel. Yeah, it's almost like a debranded Costa. You know, it's almost that kind of, because they do the coffee really well, do the cafe kind of thing. You know, it's if you do a Venn diagram, and you mentioned JDW, they would be that Venn diagram between JDW and Costa, and they probably actually go out of their way to go, where is a Costa? Where's, you know, is there a place in here?
But it was, the music was banging. There was just so much going on with it. I liked the decor. You know, it was just all kind of fun. Yeah, everything was just fun, and it's busy. You know, in there as well. Even when it's not that busy, it's still got a buzz. Do you remember
Jamie's? When you used to go into Jamie's, there was that buzz in Jamie's, and to get that back.
I used to try and nick the queue at Yo Sushi to get them into Yo Sushi at Bath.
But it reminds me of the Ivy. I mean, I've written this before about, you know, Ivy Collection, the new Jamie's Italian, discuss, because they would take the best sites in the towns and cities. They would then absorb all the best staff. And it would be the like-for-likes would be, and I think I can see the same with the Ivy Collection. The like-for-likes are up there, and you got it. And I name drop mentioning interviewed Richard Kerring and David Campbell, and say, you know, to keep that magic.
How was that?
It was
stop everything. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
it was kind of surreal, but in a good way. It was
Were you nervous?
Yes, he was charm personified though.
Really? Oh, that's good. Because I know, you know, I'd see David a bit now and again, but who is like royalty, I think. He's like a food and drink royalty at the moment, for sure.
No, he was good. I think
piece.
He doesn't take any prisoners in the conversation, and he knows that is the issue with Ivy Collection, that they have started off high, everyone's waiting for them to come down. But I suppose it's like Jamie's, they started high, and even when they came down, the first time when they started coming down slightly, they were still doing the numbers that everyone would pay to do, like 50k,
70 grand a week.
Yeah.
I remember what you were saying about them coming to town. There was a real buzz, and they would go to a town a couple of weeks before opening or a couple of months before opening, and just see who the best people were in other people's restaurants, and then, you know, give them a card.
Jamie or Ivy?
Jamie's.
Ivy's done the same.
The management team, you know, do you want to come and work for Jamie's? Here's a card. Give us a call.
And who wouldn't?
That pull.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't work for at that point? Who wouldn't work for Jamie Oliver?
But I think the neat thing about the Ivy is it's a omnipresence rather than a figurehead. So with it, all they need to do is keep the service and the standards, and But as Jamie's gets bigger, you can't believe it's like Santa. You can't believe he delivers all that in one night. Do you know what I mean?
We've discussed this. We've discussed this several times about the double-edged sword. I mean, Simon Blagden, while he was there, would say and would agree that Jamie's name opened so many doors in terms of international expansion, in terms of marketing, in terms of being able to. We've got a new menu. It's in my latest TV show. Stuff like that. But then you've got that flip side. He is out there to be shot at. Yeah. His name is over the door.
But I don't think his media presence stayed up there. So I think maybe speaking out of turn, but I think he was less visible for a while too. There was like a hiatus of a couple of years maybe where it was like, oh yeah, I've not really seen him lately, and where's his next book? And
I would argue though, I don't think we underestimate how much the confidence in that business was hit by Union Jacks. Because they were riding that wave. They were top. They were top dogs.
What? And they were just going to go and do the same thing again.
They were going to repeat it with Union Jacks. Well, the rumour is initially it was going to be a chicken concept they were working on.
Yeah.
Or they were going to do that before Union Jacks or after Union Jacks.
I think I remember you writing that. Actually.
Yeah. And the knock they had from the fact that Union Jacks didn't work.
How many?
5, I think they did. And like we say,
because was it Gary Vaynerchuk says they hadn't been punched in the fucking mouth yet?
Yeah.
Everyone's got a plan.
Well, yeah, everyone's got a plan until you get fucking punched in the face.
Arguably, that was their first bump in the road. And they probably took their eye off the ball. Yes, maybe he stepped out a bit from the business. And the world changed. Everybody went to the Jamies. Everybody looked at what their offer was. Everyone started copying that, but getting that buzz themselves.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's taken a hit personally in terms of, I know he has monetary terms, but
by the way,
in terms of brand, Jamie,
put £12 million back into that business.
Hats off.
You got to say hats off. And he is, well, as I said, he's out there to be. And we've talked about how critics can easily go, you know what, I've got a lazy week. Start doing Michelin star restaurants. I'll go and have an attack on Jamie's now.
But also, my wife went along to Jamie's the other month there, and there was 20 of them, I think, for a teacher's meal out thing, and 2 people had an amazing meal. 2 people had a not so good meal, and everyone in the middle was just a bit.
It's okay.
It was all right.
Can't be okay.
And it's not the greats or the bads that will kill you. It's those 16 in the middle.
You're not rushing back, are you? If you feel that way.
No, definitely not.
And what are we saying about the ivy? Because to me, I think it's stunning, and I think the food quality is amazing. But it also feels, is it a bit gravity defying?
I completely agree with you. I think we're all waiting, and because we're saying everything's speeded up, we're all waiting to go, when's the first one going to crash? When's the first? And I think it's interesting. I did a story on Five Guys closing their first site, and everyone was waiting for it because they'd done that properly.
Which one was it?
Thanet, Westwood Cross, Thanet. And everyone was waiting for it. It was one of our top 10 most read stories. Five Guys closing a site because they were waiting for it. Everyone was like, they've gone so fast, they've opened so many sites, they've paid so many premiums.
Can't smash everyone out of the park.
No, you can't. And I think every once in a while, like every 5 years, they need an Ivy, they need a Jamie's. Especially, and remember, Jamie's came along when we were going through 2008, 2009, when it was the sector was starting to come off. Yeah. The Ivy collections come off the same thing. They've opportunity to grow has been taken, and it's kept parts of the sector and parts of the high street. And Kerry made this point, and it's a bit disingenuous because he pays a lot of money in premiums for sites, but he's going into high streets where no one else is going to. He's going into schemes.
It was 3 million?
That was it. 3.3 million was his business rate bill, on top of another 3.3 million. So he's going in there and doing it when no one else is doing it, and keeping these things alive or anchoring them, as the case may be.
But I think, and it's actually a bit like Loungers, because Charlie McVeigh made this point when I had the chat with him, which it was an amazing chat. He was superb. And he had said that Alex Riley from Loungers was in Leicester, I think it was, somewhere like that. Hinckley or something, I can't remember.
Yeah, it would be Hinckley.
And this older lady, I think, came up to him and said, please don't close.
Please don't close. Yeah.
And, and he just goes, we're not going to. And it was just like belief. And I think with Richard Kerr and the Ivy, and I don't know Richard at all, we've done a wee bit of work in the past, but I've never had the pleasure. But I think from that perspective, I think in his way, he would keep investing in it. But the only watch-outs are tardiness of the sites, because, getting old and tired in 5 years' time or whatever, quality of those dishes and maybe some innovation, and then the service.
Well, they mystery visit every site every week, something like that.
Who does?
They get an outside company.
Oh, right, okay.
And if it goes under a certain percentage, the score, then there's an inquest, pretty much. Now you've got David on board as well. I mean, you know what he did at Wagamama. He completely, put momentum back into that business.
He's an incredible individual.
Yeah, incredible operator,
businessman.
And you've already seen now with Bills. I would argue with Bills, who went off the boil a bit. And Richard was very open about how it had gone off the boil and mistakes they'd made and over expansion and like. But you go into the new ones and the new look and the new feel of the new Bills, which they've done. I'd argue there's something back there.
A couple of points. One, can I have more wine, please? So the other thing was, I think I'll just take the bottle. So Norman Cook was on the podcast, right? Fatboy Slim, and he had said about sort of over expansion and all these kind of things, and we ended up talking about the Ivy collection and opening in Brighton, and I'd said to him, who was it catering for, the Ivy? Because Brighton's like a independent city of Brighton, right?
Bristol. Very much similar. They don't like brands.
Bristol's
they
just a shit Brighton. But anyway,
so...
yes. So...
That's half your listeners gone.
It wants to be Brighton. So I think from that perspective...
Thank you.
But then what Norman said was, he was like, well, actually it's catering for a bit of the tourists, a bit of the occasions, a bit of this. So my point was, are the Ivy catering for A, an occasion, and B, an underserved market, which is
really interesting,
like everyday fine dining. And the other brand I was thinking about in that case was Tim Hortons, in the other way, because they're going after people who just want a white coffee,
everyday quick coffee,
the completely other end of the spectrum. So what I'm saying is,
commodity.
Do the middle to uppers, or people who are aspiring, are they served by the fast casual brands?
So going back to your Ivy point, it's that classic, people going out less, but when they go out, they want to go out and have that experience and spend a bit more. Mm-hmm. And I think Ivy caters for that with the name, with the brand and what you're getting. With Tim Hortons, I mean, it's an interesting one because you've got...
I think it's fascinating. They've opened at a rate of knots.
But it's a very competitive market. I mean, who's the biggest coffee sellers in this country? McDonald's and JDW. And then you've got Pret, Cafe Nero, Starbucks, Costa, Greggs. I mean, that is a highly competitive market.
But some of that is a treat, isn't it?
But the interesting thing is, what they've done is, they've went to one-horse towns, like where I'm from.
I was going to say, there's a lot in Scotland, isn't there?
So... But
it's not even a horse, I would say it was a donkey, to be honest with you.
But it's clever. It's like places that, even Burger King or McD's would go,
shy away from.
I'm not going there. So I think, I think it's quite an interesting strategy. And also, it's an interesting product range, which is all day. So they've got a bit of McDonald's at breakfast, and then they've almost got a bit of kind of sandwichy, pretty, I mean, it's not levels, but just in terms of offer. Greg's or whatever, and then at the top end they've got a bit of KFC action kind of going on, and the donuts.
But it's
very good price point.
I suppose going back to your point of where they've gone, and no one else is in that town. But yet now they're opening in Manchester, they've just opened in Birmingham. That'll be interesting how that works out with next to your Greggs, your Leons, your Prets, your Costas.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about interesting. One of the points we made here, one of the key things in the first quarter of the year in terms of marketing. Going back this year, which I think will happen next year.
Yeah.
Landlords have kind of woke. I use Oxford Westgate as a classic example of when you open something. Oh, we've got to get everything, the best thing that's only got one site in London, and put it into the food court. And then, funny enough, it's not all working out well. So my point is about that Tim Horton. It's almost like the perception landlords need to go, well, actually, we can get that really nice one that's only done one Peruvian junk food pop-up. But actually, we need a couple of bankers who will bring in the people to try that new and different thing. Because you need your bankers. You need your KFC. You need your Burger King that are bankers, that are,
Talking about KFC then, bit of a screw-up.
Yeah,
February.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
You had one job.
Yeah.
Yep. Supply chicken. Our new suppliers.
What was the effects on it, do you think?
I think they did it's really interesting for me because, we do some of this stuff with clients when it goes wrong. How do you fix it? And I think they handled it brilliantly, especially that advert.
The advert was, it won a Lion, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
A chicken shop without any chicken, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
And the way that, they rearranged the letters and all that. Yeah. I thought it was just really, and I think it showed a real sort of deftness of touch, but also a bit of confidence as well, to just say, look, we're really sorry.
So it came by.
It was because they were switching to DHL, weren't they? In terms of for their distribution.
They went for Bid Food or Bid Vests. I think they went to DHL.
So huge upheaval, and they did it all of it overnight, which I'm sure in hindsight.
DHL's promise, isn't it? Overnight.
Well, I think it's interesting. Having recently, I've not written it up yet, but having recently interviewed Paula McKenzie, the chief executive of KFC, and she'd only been probably in the job 8 months, 9 months. Quite new to the top job, although she'd been in the organisation for a while. Very impressive lady, actually. She was like, if I'm going to take a silver lining out of this. And he said it's a very small, thin silver lining out of what we went through.
One of the lemon wipes.
Yeah, we were literally doing 5% like for likes the year before, and it went down to 1% after all this. It was still in positive territory. It was the sheer loyalty. It's
kind of heroic, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it was this. One, it was the team, how the team pulled together and managed to sort it out. I mean, she was pretty much living in the office like 3 days in a row and 4 days in a row. But it was the loyalty shown by the loyalty that came through from consumers. And you got that classic lady, I have to go to Burger King now. I can't believe it. And there's people she said there's people phoning in police stations.
The passion for that brand.
Yeah, people phoning into police stations going, my KFC is closed.
but
and she said,
they just need locking up.
And she,
come to the right place.
But she said the loyalty there that came through.
Yeah.
You had to take that as your positive and go, this has been a major problem, and it's still. I don't think it's still fixed. I still think they're still having some problems.
But I think it put them back on the map for a higher demographic as well.
Yeah.
Who had gone beyond. Maybe as a kid it was chip shop or a thing, but then now you're a wee bit past that. Maybe it's not the kind of thing you would do on a Saturday. You'd get someone else, but. I think it sort of made a few people a bit nostalgic, and I think Mother
revisit the brand.
Yeah, and I think Mother did an amazing job with the ads, and also the ads, which then the chicken was like coming along to the camera, and it was something like Busta Rhymes, wasn't it? I think so, something like that, sort of going towards the latest campaign's. Not so sure, but there was like a boneless thing. There was a bit like that. But
generally their marketing is pretty good though, isn't
it? Well, I mean, if you can afford to have Mother, your marketing is going to be good because they're an astonishing agency.
Yeah. But also it's a classic example, like you say, people have reassessed what KFC is, but also reassessed that this is a company with 900 sites. And then you get
it was a veggie restaurant for a little while.
Yeah, but it was a chip restaurant for a while though, I think. But you get this thing about people go crazy over a one site in London that actually, It's amazing when you see people who've got 1 site, 2 sites, and they go, I don't want to be a chain, I never want to make mistakes these big chains make.
And people always say that?
But then they get to 30 sites and they go, blimmin' heck, hats off to those people who've got really X amount, so this is hard. Yeah. But to have 900 sites doing that consistently, whether you like it or not, to do that consistently, you have to take your hats off to that.
But we just hear it all the time. We're not a chain. It's like, come on.
We're a necklace.
Yeah, it's just like, just get over the C word.
Collection.
We're a collection, we're a family, we're a group of independents.
You're a business. How's profitability?
You've got 400 sites. What else in Feb then? So there was a couple of... So,
are we still in February?
Fuller's, yeah.
Blimey.
We need to crack on. So Fuller's, Gaz has got some editing to do. Fuller's are dear to my heart because they started our business. And I
love Fuller's.
We're in them at the moment. But Darkstar, who also is our client, got bought by them.
Don't get me started on craft beer evangelists.
Shall I start?
I don't
know where did this come from?
When it was bought, I'll lay my cards on.
Sorry, you mean people complaining?
Yeah, the amount of fuss.
He knew it was coming. Yeah. He knew it was coming, and it's. I even do a hashtag now. It's just drink it. Stop measuring the temperature. Stop, eulogising whether. At the end of the day, it's just a good drink. And you get these people. It's changed. Someone said Beavertown when Heineken bought Beavertown. I went in the other day and the Beavertown's changed. The Heineken have been nowhere near that beer yet. They've not touched it. They've not put it through any new canning. They've not done anything. So, you know, either it's changed, it's come off the tap wrong.
But in favour of these people, a little bit, it's just like when your band gets famous.
My band never got famous.
Well, not your personal band.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I get it. I mean,
oh, cheap shot.
Cheap trick.
I get it. But James is so patient because he had all of that, especially on Facebook with the Dark Star page and him personally. You know, it's changed. You're brewing it differently.
Yeah.
It's like we're really not, honestly.
Yeah.
We're not. I think that deal. I think if you care about beer and you think it's a good beer, and someone does something to give the opportunity for more drinkers to enjoy it, that has to be a good thing, doesn't it?
But people don't think like that though. Because I'm twisted
to it.
in that, not in that way. Because I was fine.
I agree with Stretz. I think, all right, we may be too close, we may be slightly biased, but if you're right, it's your favourite band, you want to keep your favourite band. You don't want anybody else to hear it, but actually, it's part of you going, but I want them to be successful because that's why they're into this.
Yeah, but it's just people are twisted like that. You know, it's like when their favourite restaurant gets too busy or their favourite pub becomes. It's the Morrissey thing. We hear it when our friends become successful, right? It's the whole. It's just there's a twisted Britishness to all of us in that way. You know,
it's tall poppy syndrome.
No, but it's the same with the Chains or Jamie Oliver. Yeah, we go, Jamie. Come on, keep going. Oh, you're getting really famous. Oh, you're too famous now. You know, like when the Spice Girls got famous after a bit. You know, you can see the backlash they're getting right now.
We've gone for a few sweep there from Dark Star to the Spice Girls.
Oh yeah.
I think from a Fuller's perspective, it was a great deal, and I think they probably.
I was so pleased to get the call. I was in Scotland.
Were you?
On holiday for a week, and I was in Pret waiting for my mate. We were going to go walk around the West End of Glasgow, and it was a couple of minutes to 10, I think. James Cuthbertson. I thought, what's wrong? Because he knew I was off. I thought, what have we done?
Wingett's outside the brewery again. What do we do?
and a leather Mac. But I was just like, yeah. Anyway, so James phoned. He's like, right, this is going live in a couple of minutes. Don't say anything. Don't tweet anything. Just here to. And it was just like, good for you, man. Yeah. And actually good for both of them because I think it's a nice pairing. If you look at a home and away strip or a variant where you've got London, it's more than Hophead obviously, but if you've got London Pride and Hophead sitting together,
they complement
like
each other
brother and
really
sister.
Well. Because I mean,
come on.
And historically, Fuller's beers, which I personally love, but they're quite malty, they're quite traditional, and they probably do need to put a few more hops in some of their beers. But actually, bringing in something like Hophead and Dark Star is just a fantastic complementary sort of range to what they've got.
I think
we had that conversation at the time, didn't we, about how, as you know, the generation of new drinkers coming in, the palate has gone so broad.
Changed, yeah.
And like you said, you know, Fuller's had a certain palate that they were doing brilliantly or very well, but they knew and they recognised they needed to add something. And it's either you can add something in 5-6 years' time and get it, or you can go and buy the best things out there. And I think we'll see others. We'll see other deals. You know, I know, a lot of them come out and go, "We'll never be bought. We'll never be bought." Yeah. But you know,
I just get really irritated. I mean, obviously we work with Carlsberg, so I'm again biased, but I get really irritated by this sort of backlash. And I do get it, but it's just like, surely if these are really great beers and you're doing something which is going to give those beers greater distribution, then as long as you don't mess with the beers and the integrity of them and the brand. But I know that's not the universal.
Jasper at Camden got it ridiculously in the neck, and it was just like, come on. At the end of the day, he's a young guy, he's built up that business, he's got a family. If someone's going to come along and go, look, I'm going to make your business, try and help you make your business, and also you were going to be remunerated for what you've done, all the hard work
even
you've
richer.
Done. Yeah. I'm sorry, I think people forget. You can get passionate, I get very passionate about this sector, but you've got to remember at the end of the day, it's a business.
So then, thinking about March then, we've got Clive Schlee at Pret, got Retailer of the Year. Were you there?
Yeah, I put that in there actually because I think it was overdue recognition of what Clive had done and what Pret had done, because
he used to work there, didn't he?
Because he kept himself to himself. He's very much like Rob Paps at Nando's. Doesn't want to go out there, just gets on with it. He lets the business get the recognition. I think it was long overdue, but I put it in there because it showed where they were, and they were going into Germany. They were doing this stuff, and then obviously, was it a month later or maybe 2 months later, they had the big deal with JAB and buying them.
I thought the nice touch was JAB sent Krispy Kreme donuts to the office. for everyone. Which I
But
thought
all the
nice.
staff who'd been there a certain time, and even the staff who hadn't been there a certain time, got a payout from that.
Every single person got £1,000.
And then obviously after that, their year kind of, I suppose it's I don't say flippant, but went pear shaped.
Yeah.
And I actually think for the first time, Pret didn't react quick enough, or didn't. Yeah. And it's very hard to know how to react to that kind of case. And I'm sure you guys better positioned than me to
it's
know how to react.
It's very hard when
to
you've got the lawyers leading things.
Yeah.
And there's a live court case to actually still come out and clearly
do anything else but do the statement.
Yeah, clearly in hindsight they should have done more. They should have, gone live with change straight away. They should have said more about the case. But
I felt sorry for. Oh, I'm sorry it happened in general, but I think it could have been anyone.
There, but for the grace of God.
Yeah.
Well, I think sadly, we're going to have,
But when you look at the shitty wee sandwich shops you've got, like any old coffee shop, and you go and all the independents, they're unregulated. So, for Pret, they are, all right, they didn't completely list out what, but they had said within the eyes of the law, which is never a good defence, but, we did.
Regs are definitely lacking, aren't they?
Yeah, so the regs,
and that'll change.
Yeah, but it's the independent. I'm just thinking about, 10 a penny coffee shops down in Brighton. You go in and there's the coffee, but then there's just sandwiches sitting out, no labelling. And then the other week, I went into one place and it was like a kind of wee pasty thing or so. I can't even remember what it was. But anyway, whatever it was, I'd asked for the non-meat thing, and they gave me the meat thing. And it didn't matter to me. I was just like, fine, I'll have it. I'm through it now. But someone else could have been deadly.
Yeah.
There's something to be done there.
It's interesting what's come out of it now. I think Leon came out and said
they've done a great thing.
Which they ask at the till point, and actually these guys, Fuller's. Last time I was in the Red Line in Barnes, which is about 3 weeks ago.
Angus, yeah.
And immediately when I said, I'd like to order that, and she immediately asked me, on till, have you got allergies?
You can see the impact of that whole situation rolling out across the industry.
Which can only be a good thing. But I think Leon did it brilliantly. I mean, I think I mentioned it in the podcast the other week. I went in and he had big badges on saying something about allergies. They asked you, and you're just going, good.
I mean, the industry has to get better. And unfortunately for Pret is that they've kind of been the ones that have shown the whole industry the poster child. Yeah, I feel very sorry for them, because I think we'd all probably agree that is just an amazing business.
Yeah.
And
it's a machine. I just think they do a lot of things really, really. I've used this in people like class. There's a bit of class about some of the companies in our sector, and they show it in a very subtle way. Yeah. And the ones, because they're the ones who get a lot of the customers coming through the door day in, day out. And they don't brag about it. They just get on with it.
I think the way they build teams, there's quite a sort of purpose element to their business. The charitable stuff they do. I'm sure we've all had a Christmas sandwich by now.
Yep.
That is all. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
And then other couple of things in March was obviously Brewdog taking Draft House. I got a wee preview, had a wee look around, and I went to interview David McDowell, because I'm going to be interviewing him.
Nice guy.
A lovely fella. And basically, they had opened 6 pubs in 13 days.
Wow.
And by February, they'll be 80s, 90s, 100s. It was brilliant talking to him. Just seeing, and it was quite good because he was dead honest, and he was just like, look, we fuck up. We try loads of stuff.
Yeah. You know what? It's actually, I feel there's been like a mood change this year towards Brewdog.
In what sense?
Because people are very anti the traditional investor set and the traditional kind of establishment.
I don't get that.
But I kind of got it a little bit because they were brash, they were new. But I actually think there's been a kind of.
But you have to admire them.
Has Brewdog become part of the establishment now?
No, I don't think so. Right, but so the reason why I'm sort of sticking up for them is. I was at the caterer conference speaking. Huh?
You want to work with them?
Well, do you know what I was going to do years ago?
And they're Scottish.
Yeah, Aberdeen though, But basically, I remember I really did want to work with them ages ago, right? And it was a Friday night, I was drunk in the house, right? And I had an idea. Just myself watching Have I Got News For You? My wife was out with her personal trainer. So basically, so basically what happened was, got a bit drunk, and I was thinking, I've got a great idea. So I thought I would give my right arm to work for Brewdog. So I went on to eBay and bought a mannequin arm, right arm. Ended up it was the left arm. Right, it's raging. But I was going to then video it, and this was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even more. And I was going to then get someone to video me taking it to a tattooist, and I'd get them to like get it all done in Brewdog style, and then send it to them and say I would give my arm to work with you. And if I haven't told David that story, no, I never did it.
Okay.
So we moved the office, the boys chucked it out. £38 it was. But I thought it was a stunning idea to try and get a job.
Yeah.
But I think my worry about working with Brewdog is I think they do such good stuff. I think you'd almost just have to give over your entire agency to working with Brewdog. I don't think you could split.
You don't want to be the people who drop the ball.
Well, you don't want to drop the ball. Yeah, it's a bit never meet your heroes. I think I'm just really happy knowing them and being friends with them, and that's fine, and being a fan. But I think they are doing more than most put together. And the fact that they've got a airline, I know it was a stunt, but an airline, they're opening the huge, really audacious and ambitious breweries, the hotel.
Well, look at the dog marketing.
The dog marketing, and you can turn your nose up at that, but I think, so it's funny, I was a bit cynical about the dog beer thing. I was like, okay.
It felt a bit old hat.
However, is it though? So what was interesting was
dogs is a powerful market.
So this is the point, right? And we've got a wee dog here.
Yeah,
we've got your dog sitting here.
Murphy.
Murphy's sitting in the
interview
corner.
him later.
So
Murphy's gone to sleep. I'm not sure what that's saying.
Yeah, but I think so what was lovely was, so the story is, it was actually from one of the staff. So they go out to all the staff every so often, and they come up with ideas. And it was one of the staff members' ideas, and it was them believing in their staff and getting that idea out there. And then Subwoofer, good name. But interestingly, I was saying, I don't have a dog, so I'm not able, but spoke to some people who've got dogs, and they're all going, I'm going to get that. So if you think that, I don't know, 1% of everyone that's got a dog buys it as a stocking filler for their dog, that's a shitload of money.
That's putting a lot of Brewdog branding into people's homes.
It's a shitload of money.
Yeah.
I think so I think that was a good deal, the Brewdog thing, and hopefully Charlie's happy.
Yeah. I think with Brewdog, are we moving on? I think we've got.
Well, go on.
Well, I think all I'd say is I think
You'll cut it out.
They make fantastic beer. Yeah, let's cut it out. They make fantastic beer. I think I struggle with some of the hypocrisy around when someone's beer that they happen to list in their bars, be it Beavertown or whoever it might be, when they pour it down the drain. I just think
it's a bit much.
Because if you look at the deal they've done with private equity, and they've done that. I mean, I think that deal is really, really controversial in terms of what that does to that business, and
the punks
standpoint
and what it does to the punks.
Independence or die.
So they've sold a big chunk to private equity, and they've now got 200 million odd of loan notes on their balance sheet, which is rolling up and compounding every year. And if they can create enough value to get ahead of that, and the punks,
they've got to run very, very fast.
Yeah, in order to make sure that all the people that have supported them through the crowdfundings don't get massively diluted. I just think that's fine, but don't be pouring people's beer down the drain when.
How many did they pour down the drain? Was it just one on social media? I mean, how much?
But it wasn't that. It was.
I'm not sure they got rid of the whole lot. I think it was probably just for social media.
Every time one gets bought, it's like you will not be on the tap.
They did it to Camden, didn't they?
I think they did to Beavertown as well.
Yeah, they did to Beavertown, and.
But my point is that their statement is independence. So I know there's other stuff going on in the background, but they have to look to be saying, well, you're not independent anymore, so we're not going to stock you.
But I'm not sure. I mean, how independent are they?
Stretch is right. You can't say they're independent anymore when you've got a US private equity with a stake in your business.
But I think they're pushing on the attitude of independent.
It's a positioning, isn't it?
It's a positioning.
It's like when Byron, everyone was like, "Oh, Byron's an independent burger chain. It's owned by Gondola."
It wasn't always though.
It was.
Was it?
Yeah.
From the start.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was
they
its own
backed
thing.
Tom.
They sort of incubated it.
Yeah, they
didn't
incubated it. Yeah.
So, April.
I'm a whiz at dinner party.
April and May. So we've talked a bit about Prezzo anyway. We've also got Pizza Hut, MBO. Or you got a couple of bits you want to cover?
I think we've covered them. You've got Heineken, Beavertown. You've got Prep being bought. You've got Punch buying Lane.
Cow.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, Gaucho, it's amazing how people can rewrite history on these things. You know, you've got the Gaucho CEO who was there when they went into admin, just about to go into admin, saying Cow never worked. It was a confused brand. But actually, when it started, the first few cows, and I would say up to probably the 10th cow, was doing some great numbers. And it's the same when Andy McHugh first started TRG and started saying Coast to Coast never made any money. But actually, in the first few years of Coast to Coast, it was EBITDA was off the chart. So you know, it's a typical football manager, isn't it? You always play down your predecessor because you want to make it your achievements make it look better. It got confused, Cal. You know, and funny enough, but that same CEO then comes in and goes, "My plan for Gaucho, if we CVA, is to do a brand off the back of Gaucho," and it's like. Wasn't that the problem in the first place?
Well, that's happening now.
No, that was his. He came out with it. He did this. I've got to choose my words carefully here because it was with a sister publication. He did, I would say, an ill-advised feature saying this is what I would do when we go for the CVA. Knowing full well, I guess full well that he wouldn't be in the position to do any of the things he came out saying.
Got it.
It's almost like if they do this when after I've left, it will look good. It's just an interesting play. It's almost one of those ones where, sadly, everything came together, and there's a lot of people to blame on this. And Gaucho, there was many problems. You know, the effect of what Hawksmoor and what a modern steakhouse should be, and it was kind of stuck in a time loop. You know, fundamentally, it has some great sites. I mean, you know, there's some great sites in that, and that's why everyone looked at it and thought.
Charlotte Street was always a good site.
Yeah, Richmond, amazing site. The O2. Yeah. I mean, it's licensed. You know,
Swallow Street.
Money. Yeah, Swallow Street.
I think I might take it. I don't know much about it, but they just didn't. I think it goes back to our earlier conversation. They didn't. They just didn't move it on, did they? It just sort of seemed to stagnate and stayed the same.
Old men's club.
Yeah,
kind of feel.
Yeah,
and Hawksmoor proved
it did age quite quickly.
Hawksmoor proved you could be inclusive with everyone and move it on. And then you got people like Miller and Carter who came on, you know, and made you know accessible price point steak, which I would have thought affected Cow more than anything, to be honest. Yeah. And again, you know, probably made some poor property decisions at the end there, and probably expanded too quickly. And it's interesting. I think, you know, I'm interested in the fact that so many people wanted to buy Gaucho because they saw the opportunity, that there was still an opportunity to do something with that brand. Yeah. Because it still had some resonance with people. But it goes back to that, you know, thing is that process went on so long. You know, a big part of that business, or anyone's business, is Christmas bookings. But, you know, they lost all that because you talked about earlier, Mark, about the stigma that administration or CV has on a business. If you were a high-profile businessman in the city and you want to impress someone coming into London that night or that evening, you know, not going to book Gaucho if it says Gaucho administration.
Well, and on that point,
you don't want to lose your deposit either.
Hawksmoor did the best thing ever. So when the cow
thing
happened,
classy business, classy business.
So.
I remember you tweeting about this.
I got gushy. I was like, this deserves an Oscar or something. I don't know. I was just really impressed. But basically, it was just like, they just said, hey, anyone with it was one person I think had put up saying, hi, Gaucho, can I still use my cow voucher with you?
That's right.
All of a sudden, oh no, we're a different company. Sorry, cow's closed. And it was just like, come on. Yeah. And then Hawksmoor tweeted and said, you're welcome to us, first round of drinks on us. Personally, I felt they could just have said, we'll accept all cow vouchers. Yeah. It wasn't going to be a shitload.
Yeah.
But it smacked the class.
It was quick. Yeah. It was the right tone. Yeah. It was classy.
Yeah. It was brilliant. Brilliant.
Sorry.
So, we'll do some June stuff, and then we might finish up this part of the episode, and then we can do a part 2.
Yeah, sounds good.
After a couple of shots at the bar. So... June then, so back to sunny times when we all had shorts on.
Well, we've talked about Fuller's obviously making one acquisition, but the thing I picked up, and I think we'll come on to this at the end of the year because it was a huge story near the end of the year, was Wagamama appointing an advisor, and I probably actually should leave that there because we'll probably talk about
I wonder what happened.
Yeah.
It's not been mentioned much, is it?
But what we really haven't talked about is that amazing valuation of Pret, which I think we all agree.
What did it end up at? 1.5 billion?
14 times, wasn't it?
14 times underlying profits.
And amazingly, a month later, Wagamama was on the market.
Yeah, and then obviously that... Yeah, exactly.
We want what they got.
Is like, oh, look at that.
Call me cynical,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And I think JAB apparently paid that price just on the back of the international potential, and I think their belief, along with the management, that they can go across America, and there's a massive opportunity there. And
But they've it's not an overnight success in America. They've fought the good fight.
Oh yeah,
and they've made mistakes. And actually, the next company I think will to do that, and what has been doing it quietly, is Nando's. Quietly building up a very small estate.
And I'm sure that hasn't been straightforward.
No,
Where?
America, Chicago, Boston,
Big
place.
I've just been. It's quite
It's just
big.
been. You should
roomy.
tell you what, go Disney next time when you're there.
I went to Disney. It was amazing.
But again, they've quietly built it up. Rob now going to group CEO. Part of his thing will be, in Canada as well.
Yeah.
We're building that up, but they've done it in that lovely Nando's. We'll take our time. We'll make mistakes away from the public glare. Go back to that Yo thing about Richard Hodgson saying, we had 7, we've got 2, and you know what? We'll go with Benta because it's got, it's got that presence already in North America. It's got the counter service. You're fighting really hard to build something in America when actually there's easier wins in this environment. There's easier wins to do.
It was always my frustration at Yo because I felt like we tickled with takeaway and we dabbled in delivery and we never nailed it. And when basically
I like that. Tickled in takeaway and dabbled in delivery.
I said that enough times. But I think that whole, like, we used, I'm saying we, the royal we, but we used to do stuff with Sainsbury's back in the day. I could never get my head round why we didn't give it another go, and it was in the hard to do box, and it was like, but then when you saw Sushi to Go or whatever they're all called, the sushi counter,
you got Sushi Deli.
Sushi Deli, I think there's 2 ones, I can't remember, but I think it's a great wee thing, and I would rather it said Yo, I would rather it was,
But I think that's the case in point, and also it's one of those where the market comes to you. You look at like Leon for years to make a profit, and then obviously the healthy fast casual. But you look at something like sushi now. Sushi is now seeing fish health. Raw fish.
Yeah.
I think Yo to Go. I mean, I know they tried it at Charing Cross Station in terms of
that was a joint with SSP, wasn't it?
But I think it should work. I don't understand why.
I mean, the name alone deserves some kind of award.
I think Pho might be slightly annoyed.
Pho?
Well, they've got Pho to Go.
Yeah, there's Pho. Well, but Yo to Go was a much. But you had Yo to Go years before. They Sainsbury's fridges said Yo to Go. Guarantee it. Right, last couple of things and then we're going to go and get Jägermeisters. Wagamama appointed advisors, so we will see what happens. I wonder what will happen, children. And then the last thing is Fuller's acquiring 6 strong Bell and the Dragon.
I think it was, for me, it was just a case of we talk about USPs in pub sector.
I don't know them at all.
It's kind of high-end gastropubs with rooms, so it's huge. It was.
They've done the room. The last owners did the rooms, didn't they?
Joe Cadbury. Yeah, Joe Cadbury took it on.
They put all that accommodation in there, I think.
And I think it's that USP thing about what's different.
Yeah.
You look at Coaching In Group now, Kevin Charity's thing, which is on the market. USP is. Actually, the USP isn't just rooms. They do really good food. They do really good drink. But it's that whole thing where people are not looking for a Premier Inn anymore. Not looking for it. And everyone's, if they're doing staycation is obviously. It's big and people not going abroad as much is the case of you need that kind of thing that's going to draw people in on the Monday, on the Tuesday, on the Wednesday, not just on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, Fuller's, they want to do more rooms, they want to expand.
It was a great fit for Fuller's, wasn't
beautiful bedrooms, as I believe they're called.
Yeah. Beautiful bedrooms.
Food they do brilliantly.
Yeah, characterful buildings as well.
But I think it's a good fit for them. It's good. I mean, it's the accommodation play is a big thing at the moment. Actually,
there's a quality thing there, I think.
But there's a quality thing, but also. I would argue, actually, we talked about the casual dining having a problem like that, and how people like Fuller's and Young's would be affected because they've put so much effort into food over the last 5 years. Actually, I think they probably get caught up in that maelstrom of what's happened with the casual dining because they've gone with food. And I think the problem with Fuller's, you worked with Fuller's and
they've done a great job.
They have done a great job, but actually, I think going back to the Dark Star deal, it kind of reminded people that it's a pub group, it's a drinks group, it's a brewery.
Yeah.
And I think taking nothing away from Paul Dickinson, who's great at Fuller's, who's really he's transformed their food thing into an amazing level. But they had to, you dial up. I was a graphic guy, so you dial up that graphic. And they needed to bring the beer back up a bit, I think, and they knew that. And I think that's what they've done. And the accommodation play as well. And I think
to retell that story.
Exactly. And I think that's why I think Bell and Dragon worked for them.
And the award stuff, and I'm going to get the chef's name wrong, but they bring in an incredible chef,
Pierre Kaufman.
Yes.
Guild for the Fuller's Guild.
Yeah, the Fuller's
Chef's
Guild. Yeah.
Well, that's all Paul. That's been run by Paul Dickinson.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I think that's made a big leap.
It's quite funny. I've just been working on looking at some stuff around what people want when they come into a pub. Locally sourced, community led. And you look at what they've done with their food. It's locally sourced, it's provenance. There's a story to tell. I think, we talk about Fuller's, but I think there's so many good pub groups now who do that. Whether it's the big ones, Fuller's and Young's, whether it's Oakman, whether it's Seafood, whether it's Peach. There's these great local stories.
What I think is really interesting is if you look at all those local stories and the way they engage communities and their sort of local customer base or fan base, and then I look at casual dining and I think actually that's just not happening in the same way.
There's none of that.
And that is a real challenge.
They usually don't have a story to tell.
Yeah.
The sourcing is from a spreadsheet. It's from a huge conglomerate.
But also they're just not... I think...
Come on, I'm not lying.
No, I actually was going to make the point that the sad thing is when you're... And again, not with the same brush everyone. Is people come into this sector and they think, well, restaurants, that's going to be a good return. Because on a spreadsheet, it looks like a good return.
Yeah.
They forget about the people. They forget about all the things, the dynamics that come into running an actual business, and they just go, if we do that, on that spreadsheet, we will get to that.
It's too transactional, isn't it? It's not like going, right, we've got a community around this venue. How are we going to really switch them on to what we're doing and engage with them and talk to them? And
we get it. We get it all the time. The briefs. We want to get back to the old day. We want to be authentic. Right? Where'd you eat your pasta from, or where'd you eat your noodles from, or they're shipped in.
It's a huge challenge, isn't it?
Where can we hang this story on? Give me something I can hang. Give me something I can hang this campaign on.
I can't help you.
Not that we think we're great.
But we've done it. So I go in and do these brand days, right, for folk. And you get in, first story I ask them is, what's your story? And then it's, we were tasked with creating something that made money.
Yeah, they can't articulate a good... Yeah.
And you're just like, anything? Yeah, we just had to pick some concept. We'd go a wee trip, and I'm just thinking, fuck, this is going to be a long 8 hours. Because I've then got to bend it like Beckham into some kind of, brand at the end of it. It's just, we just did it to make money. You've got no story, like zero. Yeah. No, that's when your heart sinks.
That authenticity, it just has to sort of kind of come to the fore and has to be there, doesn't it?
Well, that's even when you look at Bills, when they keep Bill Collinson involved. Because he is involved. Some of it you can say, it's just lip service. But, he comes out and he actually talks to all the local media every time they do something. He says, he has a say in the design. And he's a touch point for that business.
He should, and they need to listen as well and try and make that a marriage where they retain that essence.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so at half time, pubs 5, restaurants 1.
Doesn't get much better in the next 6 months.
Will they come back?
Well, let's see, shall we? So, right, let's go and get... Was it refresh your drinks? I think that's what the Americans say. I need to refresh my drink.
Yeah, refresh your glasses.
And, we'll...
See you in part 2.
See you in part 2. So there you go, that was part 1 of our chat at a Fuller's beautiful bedroom, very kindly donated by the Fuller's team. So we had a few drinks there and a bit of cake that was sent over by Adam Rowledge at the Georgian House Hotel, and we had a good laugh throughout the evening. I think we were laughing more when the mics were off than they were on, so sorry it's maybe not as humorous as it could have been, but there's a lot of things to get through. So I hope you really enjoyed that drunk cast from myself, Mark Wingett and also Mark Stretton. A huge thanks to everyone who's listened this year and supported the Spectacular Marketing Podcast. It's been a real blast to do it, and just got to meet so many great people through recording that every single week, and hopefully we'll continue and maybe even try and change it up a gear next year as well. A huge thanks as well to Gaz, Gabby and Mahal for all of their hard work in putting together the Spectacular Marketing Podcast this year. I'm Mark McCulloch, and this was Spectacular. Merry Christmas.